To the 1876 Sports and Culture Podcast, another exciting show for you. Today, starting off, I just want to talk about Mr. Byron Allen. And it was recently where I learned how influential this man is. And this week, we learned that the Allen Media Group, they are proud to announce a multi-year partnership with the SWAC for beginning 2022-23 season to highlight HBCU sports. Roland, you have any more information?
No, man, just, listen, Byron Allen has been a silent beast in the media game for years. The tactic that he leveraged to become such a media mogul is, for us in our 90s era, he kind of took that Master P approach. He just flooded the market with material. If any of you guys been up at middle of the night at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, you say, what is this on TV? Sure enough, Byron Allen and the Allen Media Group has probably produced it. So one thing that I learned about Byron Allen is he would actually give away the product, the material, and keep all of the advertising proceeds from it. And you're just like, man, that was just pure genius. So so for him to actually have, I think they acquired the HBCU Go platform a few years ago, and now with the announcement of this SWAC deal, I mean, oh my gosh, this is huge. Great time to be in the SWAC.
I don't think people understand how many roles, how many hats he wears. He's businessman, comedian, television producer, philanthropist. He's also head of the entertainment company Studios of America. So with this latest deal, a lot of people thought that Aspire would do this. He has actually led the effort to have the first ever partnership grant with HBCU Go, cable, linear streaming, broadcast, VOD, pay-per-view rights, and a premier deal with the NCAA Division I HBCU conference sports events. So that is big because you have to go to ESPN3, ESPN Plus. So now you have a streaming online digital platform with many different faces, many different platforms by which you can access. And the big deal, here's the thing in quotes, high quality.
So yes.
Again, in the fall of 2022 or the 2022-2023 season. So this thing, for it to happen in the season coming up, the fall coming up, has been in the works. So Roland, to your point, he's been on it behind the scenes, building up this deal. So kudos to Byron Allen.
Most
yes,
definitely.
Indeed.
And before I leave, I want to talk about this partnership. The article states that it's going to include live coverage of over 2,000 SWAC games and events. 2,000. That is major. And we also want to make sure that we say that it's a free streaming digital platform.
Yes.
So I can get rid of this Hulu ESPN that I've been paying for.
So is that 2,000 in the course of a full year, or
it's not 2,000 events for the SWAC in the year? So I think the deal they're looking at maybe about a 10-year deal.
Okay, so that's over a 10-year period.
Right. So if you average it out, it may be 200 events a year.
Okay, which is
anywhere between 5 to 10 football games. No, that's significant. I'm not saying it's significant. I just want to,
Yeah, so that is going to potentially double or triple the HBCU or SWAC content that we can find now streaming.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And kudos to McClellan.
Yes.
Commissioner McClellan, again, for having the forethought to say, hey, this is a great strategic partnership. This can only do nothing but expand the platform of the SWAC. So let's not go down the road go down this hole without giving him his props as well.
And he spoke of that on the inside the HBCU Sports Lab when he was on there. He spoke of that years ago about that was one of his main charges as commissioner. So hey, once again, I guess Doc breaks the internet again, huh?
And we know Charles McClellan is well on his way to getting a statue built out in front of SWAC.
For real.
By the time it's all said and done, he he will
He
be
gonna
the
get-
greatest
He
name.
gonna get
known
streets,
to man.
roads.
Charles
And the big
McClellan
deal
is
is
going to
in
be a
terms
legend.
of the streaming and broadcasting component of it is, from everything indication I got, it's just getting started. I think this is just one component of it. I know one thing he said on the show is that he would never give all the rights to one organization. So my understanding is going to be multiple organizations that have the broadcast rights. So this is probably the first one. I am waiting for the official SWAC release to kind of balance it out and maybe get a little more detail than we got from this original release, which would be fascinating. But I think your point in regards to the quality is going to be extremely important and a component of that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It'll be interesting who's going to do the broadcast engineering component of it.
no more
So let's
dropping
make sure we fill those seats. Okay. Show me PV Crunk, please. Please. No empty, no empty stadiums on TV, please.
And
All
that
right.
partnership with HBCU Go was just signed this year.
All right, so we've got 6 PVU students that won the Texas A&M University Student Research Symposium competition.
Yeah, so this was the 17th annual Texas A&M University Pathway Student Research Symposium. This year's student competition involved more than 800 undergrad and graduate students from all of the A&M system schools. So we had 6 students. 3 of those finished in the top 3, which was Faith Isabel, Lennar Palmer, and Anaya Ware. So again, PV students going in places and spaces amongst all of academia and proving themselves to come out at the top. So very proud of those undergrads.
Most definitely.
And Anaya, she got hers for, what was it? What is it? Morphological and photochemical diversity of grain type industrial hemp.
Yeah, man, it was something along those lines. But yeah, cannabis sativa growth.
You say you're growing weed, huh?
Yeah, she's an agricultural major, and so I think that's very important because billions of dollars are going to be made in the state of Texas.
Yes,
cannabis.
Oh,
and
already has been made.
Already being made, and so it's very important for us, folks who look like us, to get on that gravy train as well.
Don't let another cotton crop come up and pass us by again.
Yep. So if we learn how to grow it, then you're setting yourself up to make some
pretty
money.
much. Hey, look, they made it legal. Check the Texas Department of Agriculture. Get your license.
Get it.
But I digress.
We also learned this week that WNBA legend Cynthia Cooper-Dyke is retiring from coaching.
Yeah. Living
Yes.
legend.
Hall of SWAC Hall of Fame.
Hall of Famer. Most recently with TSU, but she was on the Hill coaching our Lady Panthers for quite some time and brought them through a long stretch of success. That was a great time when we had her on the Hill as the coach of the Lady Panthers basketball team. She set us on a path that we are now, where we were, experiencing year after year of success. Not, obviously not including this season, but she set us up on a recruiting profile for young ladies to start really looking at us seriously for ladies basketball. So shout outs to Coach Cynthia Cooper-Dyke, living legend. She wanted to stay close to home. I think she left PV and went to a PWI. I can't remember, was that a USC move or a Carolina move?
No, first it was UNC Wilmington.
Okay.
Then she got a chance to go back to her
USC
alma mater where she played.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
and also she did. Let's not forget that even though she didn't get her bachelor's from Prairie View, she did get her master's degree from.
I was just gonna say that she's an alum as well. Now
she got the bachelor's as well because she didn't finish at USC. She did not finish at USC.
Yeah.
One of the terms of the conditions.
When you go back to the story again, shout out to Charles McCullough.
Mm-hmm.
He fought really hard to get that higher because she didn't have the degree at the time. One of the
Okay.
components of her getting that she would go back to school. She quietly went back to Prairie View, and she's a two-time alumni of Prairie View.
Okay.
I'm very proud of
Yeah.
it in terms
Yes,
of
okay.
bachelor's and of
I
master's.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Learn
And
something new every day.
Most of her success outside of her professional career, obviously, don't want to belittle that because she's a Hall of Famer for that, and Naismith Hall of Fame. But in terms of collegiately, post when she played, coaching wise, most of her success, or most of the success she had, was at Prairie View when she went on that run.
Yes.
But she's won every level. She won a
Yeah.
Pac-12 tournament championship, regular season championship at Texas Southern. So
Yeah.
she's done it.
Yep, in that 2013 season. Yep. And then 2 national championships with USC, 4 championships with the Houston Comets, 4 straight. She was league MVP for all years. So
don't you refer to that as the GOAT? Is that GOAT status?
I think so.
That's GOAT status.
Everybody
ain't
else
goat,
claiming
I mean.
GOAT status, so she damn sure can.
I think hers may be a little bit legitimate more than
Legit, huh?
that you call it out, Joe.
Yeah, she legit with it.
All right. As we prepare for our 2022 football season, Joe, I hear the spring game. The date has been announced.
The date is April 23rd for the official spring game, so which will culminate all the spring practices and smaller intramural inter-squad scrimmages. They will have the large, essentially inter-squad scrimmage, also known as spring game, on April the 23rd. So I encourage everyone to come out, treat it like it's a regular season football game. I know everybody's interested and curious about the quarterback situation and some other roles. So that's your first opportunity to come out there and see what's going on. And heck, it may be some tailgating going on as well. So
Bring them out, bring them out, bring them out.
College football don't start in the fall. College football starts in the spring, baby.
Tell them again.
And speaking of tailgating, so we have that date. Do we have the official date for homecoming?
That's a sore subject.
Yeah, in the fall. It's the best we got,
That's a sore subject. So for tailgaters like us who've been getting RVs forever, RVs, you typically now, it's so popular, you got to reserve your RV in March or April. That's when we typically get our RV because we will have known what the homecoming date is. And so for the last couple of years, because of COVID, PV's been very hesitant to announce which date is homecoming, which is it makes planning difficult. We got to take vacation. You talking about vacation planning. You talking about reserving your RV, reserving hotels. I know it's folks listening who got their feelings hurt before waiting last minute to get a hotel for homecoming. So
reserve your catering.
But if you look at the schedule, wouldn't you assume that it would be the Bethune-Cookman game?
Most likely.
One can assume.
Yeah.
You can assume. But
Your best bet is to tailgate at all the games, just like it's homecoming, and that way, whatever way they determine it to be, you already win it.
Well,
just tailgate at all of them.
But here's the next issue: we still don't know if it's going to be a full homecoming, so we don't know if we'll be able to tailgate at this 2023 homecoming or 22 homecoming, which for me is a problem. It's an issue. At some point, leadership has to say, look, we're going to decide to move forward as the rest of the country, as the rest of college football has moved forward. And
with leadership being in question for that time frame, we gotta still wonder what direction we're going to end up in with that.
And who's going to have that ultimate decision? That is a heck of a question. So
and y'all
the board chair at Texas A&M system has that power to make the decision whether it's interim, acting, or a new president announced by that time.
Yeah, well, that. So would PV hand that off? Would someone at PV, if it's an interim president, would we want to keep that decision in-house, which is what we've done last year? I'm sure that was an in-house decision. So
Oh yeah, it'll be an in-house decision. I thought you meant in terms of the presidential, but yeah, the decision in terms of how you're gonna do homecoming.
Yeah, that's
Just
what
like it
we're
was
talking
last
about.
year, is gonna be whoever's the interim, or Ruth, if she's continuing over the summer, made it sound like that she's stepping down by the end of the term at the latest this summer. She will help facilitate the process of whoever becomes the next president, but whoever is charged, they're not going to have a vacant president over the university in her absence. So more than likely, somebody will be named interim, and that may last a year, because usually president searches take about a year, unless they're doing something. So whoever's interim will be ultimate person who makes that decision.
So to me, which makes it even more dicey, will an interim president be willing to make that call, or lean on others who've been on campus longer to make that call?
Yeah, but the way Texas, some people will say, has always been open.
You pretty much.
And it's certainly becoming more open, if there's a such thing. I think it's going to be a challenge for a president, even in the political sense, to suggest that the rest of Texas is open, because it's my understanding by the fall, we're going to be, all universities, public universities are going to be open, as if COVID never exists other than the minimum requirements, and maybe asking folks to wear masks. Heck, some people say now there might be a flip on the mask, that they may have some mandates saying that you can't even wear a mask.
You can't wear it. So then let's go ahead and assign the homecoming date and keep it moving.
So let's just assume, let's just go on that. Let's just continue assuming that it's going to be the Bethune-Cookman game.
I would say this to the point, and I know it's frustrating you, Joe, but we have seen that homecoming announcement dates haven't necessarily been put out there this early. Usually they come out later. We usually have backdoor channel and find out the information, and we're able to proceed. But we need to be careful in terms of historic and accuracy. Usually you don't get that information later in the spring or the first of the summer in terms of that announcement. And a lot of it is because student affairs are trying to figure out what they're going to do campus-wise in terms of
contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who control?
Listen, one thing the PV Nation has shown me, though, we don't care what you say, Jack. We don't shut the rest of the city down. You don't want us on campus? That's all right.
Exactly. And we'll do it off campus if that's the case. So
exactly. So Panthers say, you know what? Say what you say, carry on. We gonna still we gonna do us.
And forcing the parties off campus for undergrad kind of turned out, in my opinion, it turned out worse than if you would have allowed them to party on campus, because it was out of PV's control at that point.
Speculation.
But hey, hopefully the decision will be made sooner than later, and we can start doing some real planning around here and plan to have a full out homecoming.
Absolutely.
I mean, Joe, you can make your recommendation for the president, and it, we'll be good. All the moving forward. You making things happen. Let's not stop now. Let's go ahead.
You know what? You're right. You surely is right.
Then we don't have to worry about it. Then you have direct input. Not
There
only
you
on
go.
saying who's the president or interim, on when homecoming is. Let's stop all the foolishness. Do what you do, Joe Clint.
There you have it. Got T. Got T.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
I hear you have some what's going on? What's going on? I hear you have some information as far as how we could support the student athletes on campus.
Oh yes, I do. Well, I came in a little late, so I came in at the tail end of the conversation of Coach Cynthia Cooper's retirement. So I do want to comment on that.
Yes.
Yes, I have to, because she was my coach all 4 years of my collegiate career. And I just pay so much homage to her for being the fierce competitor that she is. And you all mentioned several of her accolades of what she's accomplished as a player. But as a coach, she was also a tremendous coach. She liked to push you to your limits, beyond what you think you could even go sometimes. But it's admirable because she winds up bringing out the best in you. If you're coachable, if you're able to adapt to what she's saying, she'll work with you and she'll give you her all. So oftentimes when you're in the sideline and you see her passion coming out and you're just like, oh my gosh, how can she talk to the players like this? How are they going to respond? And you see players responding because outside of the optics of it, we know that there's love underlying there, but also that she knows what she's talking about and that she's not a winner by happenstance, but because she's done these strategic steps to elevate her game, and that has put her in a position to be a winner. And when you want to be a winner, you listen to winners. So she made my time at Prairie View really amazing. I mean, when I first met her in high school, Prairie View wasn't even recruiting me. And when we got connected, she flew down several times. Let me hold some of these stories back because I think everything was legal. So whenever it was time to recruit,
I just say you.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, everything was legal. Prairie View was one of my 5 official visits, but initially I had committed to University of Miami. But through her relationship with my mother, she knows how to talk. If you've met Coop, you know, she's a real entertaining person, but she knows how to build rapport really quickly. But she was able to help my family and I understand what her vision was, and it matched mine. And we were a match made in heaven when we came to Prairie View and were able to start a winning tradition. And so when I came in, she brought in 10 freshmen. So and elite players. So, you know, it's I think this was a little bit earlier than I thought that she would retire, but I know that she has children in college. Her daughter plays basketball as well. She's been dedicating her life to these sports. So sometimes people need a break. So hopefully this is not the end and she's just taking a hiatus type retirement and come back a couple of times. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I spoke some words on that because she's amazing and has been a great coach and a mentor throughout my career.
Well said. And when you talk about Prairie View's women's basketball program, one thing historically we cannot forget in terms of the rise of athletics and the champions that we know today, the first program to come out after all the slumps and non-scholarships and losing football record, the first program to enter into those championships that led to baseball and ultimately football and softball and women's, now that we talk about Paul's Down and bowling, was none other than women's basketball, led by Gotti, our very own Gotti, and the rest of her team that did those things under legendary coach Cynthia Cooper. Well said.
Well said.
Agreed.
For sure. So that leads me to the other piece because I was listening back to last week's episodes and the question that was posed to me about resources coming to the athletes, money coming to the athletes and why that's so important. And so I gave a real general answer, but my mind just started going and I started writing and just thinking about how important it is to support the athletes because of for so many reasons. So I kind of want to just cover that briefly. On one hand, it's really important to invest into the athletes because it allows the athletes to have some disposable incomes to think about their future. You know, entrepreneurship is really big, and especially now while the NCAA has this interim rule of the name and likeness opportunities, athletes now have an opportunity to start their own businesses and market themselves in a way that is easier than going out to find a job. And oftentimes you could use some seed money. And with the digital world that we live in, there's so many opportunities to get like NFTs, which aren't really costly. You know, you can get an NFT for $200, start to build your fan base and eventually, you know, have that asset to sell to other people and to duplicate it and further on. Starting a business, $300 to start a business in Texas, open a bank account. By the freshman year, by the time you graduate, you have equity and you can go out and get grants and money to really start your post-college adult career, right? So these are things that are just really important. You know, it's great to talk about the student athletes again. And I really think it starts with the aspect of what it means to be a student. It's not really about the money. The money in and of itself is not going to solve issues that we face as African people in the United States, as collegiate athletes. We need education. So one of the first things we need to figure out how to do is how to get our graduation rates up, because that's really the foundational thing. So many students go to HBCUs, then come out owing 150, 200, 100K. So here's the chance to support students to get free or greatly reduced education, because a lot of the athletes do not have full scholarships. Yeah, so there's a difference between the legacy students and first generation students. And there's a lot of things that we will do because someone is good on the court or on the field and not really take the time to make sure that they're getting their foundational education. So I know I'm on a soapbox, but just stick with me real quick.
Yeah.
You know, Gati, it's interesting you say that, because it's like, you know, it's from a fan and an alum perspective, right? Those student athletes are instilling or helping to propel the esprit de corps that we have for our alma mater, right? So when we see those champions out on the court or on the field or on the alleys or on the track and field tracks, right? That's helping instill a sense of pride in us. So you're kind of investing in yourself, right?
Yes.
You're giving a little, but you're getting a lot back in return. But you know, that's I'll pass with that.
No, you're right.
You were right. Yeah, the pride. We all know, and a lot of academic types don't want to admit it, but the pride that alumni have. I wasn't looking at you. The pride that alumni have, or that is attached to a university, is led by the success of sports teams.
Yep.
Period. Yep. There's a lot of sweat equity that we owe student athletes that they do, or their sporting exploits do for the university and alumni. All of the schools that are making millions and billions of dollars, they're doing that not because the math major did well in a calculus event. They are making all that money because of what the student athletes bring to the table, who far outwork the money that they receive in scholarship.
You know, I was thinking about Sun Panther when you started talking. I'm like, how many times did the Sun Panther win?
Yeah, so true.
Nobody beat their chest when the Sun Panther came in first.
Yeah, but the other piece is, if you invest in those student athletes, who else can be better ambassadors for future students to come? Yep. And they have a nugget and say, hey, look, here's my valuable experience. Here's how they invested in me. Come to PV. So that furthers what you were saying, Roland.
Yeah, it's a recruiting tool.
Yeah.
If I had a good experience, I'm going to be a positive recruiter going forward for Prairie.
Exactly.
To your point, so much of college is about the connections you make while you're here, and so many times people go into sororities and fraternities because the connections you make when you're here at PV. So we need to use the money to strengthen the connection that we make for the students who in so many ways are like we've been saying, the face of the university on a year-to-year and ongoing basis, and those athletes, you know, to continue to carry the torch. So, you know, beyond in undergraduate education, it's about handling business, studying, taking tests, writing papers, all that, but also getting your financial aid done, making sure your housing is taken care of, managing time outside of school. And all these things are part of what it means to be successful in college, but also obviously successful in the everyday world. So once we have a mechanism that really focus on the education of students in their career fields, that will make them highly employable, which a lot of these athletes are. And then we strengthen that alumni athlete pipeline so that there's internships and opportunities available for when they finish. And we can continue to create that culture there. Where right now in the NCAA, we see it's easy for athletes to just bounce from college to college to college. And we can do something like, I don't know, if you come to us for 2 years, we'll give you 3 years to come back and finish your education, at a reduced rate or something like that. There's a lot of things that we can continue to do to enhance Prairie View's culture, where we can, regardless of how many championships we get, we can win collectively because we really look out for each other. And the university recognizes, what the athletes bring, and together the alumni bring the alumni also together in a way that continues with the brand recognition going out through generations. So I could talk on and on.
I need you to slow down. I'm trying to take notes for a thesis idea for one of y'all.
Look, write your own damn thesis.
Look, I got more. I got a few minutes more, but I know we have to continue. But I guess my final point, just culturally, is like, it's not really about the money, is the point. Like, even with reparations, people lose collectively and individually when we're not educated, because we're not in the position to make informed, thoughtful, healthy, and sustainable decisions. And when we live in a culture of consumerism and immediacy, then if you can get money, then you're too easily exploitable. So we can see from a lot of the, for example, Native American communities that were able to get casinos, just having a casino and more money flowing into the tribe. Yes, you can get nicer houses, but you're not creating a mindset of generational wealth or expanding and building without education. And so this is where we can learn from some communities like the Jewish communities, for example, or Iranian or Sikh communities, where they create a culture around education and family. And that's what makes being at an HBCU so special, because regardless of where you come from in your background and what you didn't have then, now you can have a family here as Panthers. So yeah, across the board. So let's support each other. Let's support these athletes.
Got a family here now.
Well said.
We'll see. We'll see. Before we move on to our break, Mike, I believe you had something for or about Dr. Obion.
Yeah, real quick. Channel 13, KTRK, whatever, I forget what it is here in the news, did a nice piece on Dr. Obion as becoming, one of the woman and dean of the College of Engineering. Now, she's been in that place, I think, since 2018 or 2019. Don't quote me, but this is the 50th anniversary of Title IX. This was also Women's History Month. So she shares some candid stories about her growing up, how she grew up in a family of engineers, and that it was her destiny to, come into the world of engineering. I think the title of the article says, quitting was never an option. So she had some obstacles, but I thought it was a nice piece by KTRK, Channel 13, here in Houston, to highlight Dr. Obion, Dr. O, as she's affectionately known, and her accomplishments, at least to this point. So that's all I'll say to that. So if you get a chance, please check out the article. Dr. O, I had a chance to meet her. She's a brilliant woman, phenomenal leader. So great article, great piece. I thought I want to shed some highlight on that article.